ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى، نعم النصير. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله قاسم الجبارين، مبين الظالمين، مدرك الحاربين، والصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي اسمه في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتليهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكر فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد، عن حسين بن علي عليه السلام: فإن السنة قد أميتت وإن البدعة قد أحيت. For the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of the Marhumin and of the graves of the Shahada and Siddiqeen, for the hastening and the safety of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Marwahun al-Fida, and for the safety of all the Azadars of Sayyid al-Shahada, please recite aloud Salat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman, the one who is Rahim. It's an honor again to be here and to have this opportunity to sit once again in the remembrance of Abdullah. If only we understood its importance, if we could truly implement it within our lives and bring about that change that was intended by Abdullah, we would live in a much better society, we would live in a much better environment, much better, we would live much more spiritual lives. Over the last few nights we have been discussing those deviations that led to Karbala. The physical, the social ones, and then from last night we started discussing those internal factors, those spiritual factors that led to Karbala occurring. What was it that the army of Yazid lacked that those 72 that stood by Sayyid al-Shahada had? And one of those things that we spoke about last night was the ability to remember, or the remembrance of Allah had been removed from their heart. And we've been using that letter of Imam Hussein alayhi salam to the people of Basra, where Imam is telling them that the sunnah of my grandfather is dead and innovation has become rife within society. Today we're going to look at another one of those prerequisites, or one of those things that was lacking in the army of Yazid that led to the killing of the sunnat and the innovation. And I said yesterday that the biggest sunnat that was killed by the army of Yazid, or by the Umayyad dynasty, or by those that took away the haqq of Ahlul Bayt, was the Ahlul Bayt themselves. They were the greatest sunnat, because the Holy Prophet of Islam said that I ask for no reward for this message that I have given you, except that you love my Ahlul Bayt. Love of the Ahlul Bayt was the sunnat of the Holy Prophet, but yet the biggest sunnat that the people broke was this. They killed the Ahlul Bayt. So much is gained from the remembrance of the Ahlul Bayt. So much is gained from their love. So much is gained from their following. Allow me to highlight it from a hadith that appears in the book Mikyalul Makarim. It's a hadith narrated by the 8th Imam, who says, I heard from my grandfather, who heard from his grandfather, who then heard from Amirul Mu'mineen, who said he heard from the Holy Prophet of Islam, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, where the Holy Prophet of Allah has said that the one who wishes to meet Allah in the state on the day of judgment, that Allah should look at him and not ignore him, then he should have the vilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib within his heart. And the one who wishes to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the state that on the day of judgment Allah is pleased with him, he should love his son Hassan. And the one who wishes to meet Allah on the day of judgment such that there is no fear within his heart, then he should follow Husayn ibn Ali. The one who wishes to meet Allah on the day of judgment in the state that all his sins are forgiven, he should be a follower of Ali ibn Husayn. The one who wishes to meet Allah on the day of judgment with illuminated eyes, then he should be a follower of Muhammad al-Baqir. The one who wishes to meet Allah on the day of judgment in the state that the scroll of deeds is handed to him within his right hand, then he should be a follower of Ja'far as-Sadiq. The one who wishes to meet with Allah on the day of judgment in a state that he is purified and clean, he should be a follower of Musa al-Kadhim. The one who wishes to meet Allah on the day of judgment in a happy and a joyful mood, then he should be a follower of Imam Ali al-Rada. The one who wishes to be on the day of judgment, the one whose grades have been elevated, his sins have been turned into good, then he should be a follower of Imam Taqi al-Jawad. The one who wishes that his accounting be easy on the day of judgment, he should be one of the followers of Imam al-Hadi. The one who wishes to meet Allah and be from amongst the successful ones, then he must be a follower of Imam al-Askari. And the one who wishes to be on the day of judgment from amongst those whose deen is complete and his Islam is perfect, then he must be one of the ones that accepts the vilayat of Imam al-Mahdi. These are the lamps in the darkness, the Holy Prophet continues. These are the lamps of guidance, and these are the signs of piety. What were those spiritual restrictions, those restraints within those people that stopped them from seeing these manifestations of the Asma of Allah as those that they had to follow? Because the 6th Imam says, the book is Canon of the Canon of Alamat Tabatawai, says, Nahnu Asma'ullah, that we are the manifestations of the name of Allah. What was it that with all of this divine connection that the people turned away from them? The people chose not to listen. What is it in my soul that every year I come and I listen to the Shahadat, I come and I listen to the Majalises, but yet within my heart there is no change? Yet I'm still listening to music. Yet I'm still shaving my beard. Yet I'm still going out and acting like those that were not with Imam. What is it? Yesterday we looked at one of those diseases being the one that there's a lack of remembrance of Allah. The second disease I want to look at today is the one of hypocrisy. And this is one of the diseases of the soul. And before we carry on into it, we need to understand that the soul itself is made up of 4 major faculties. Quwwat al-Wahmiyya, Quwwat al-Ghadabiyya, Quwwat al-Shahwiyya, and Quwwat al-Aqaliyya. And we'll go through each one of them. But it is these powers within mankind that if they're able to control them and find balance, it will make them greater than the angels. But if they allow these to take them towards haram and they give in to these desires, it will make them worse than the animals. These four powers, this is what shaitan appeals to. This is what shaitan whispers to. These are those powers. So the first one is quwwat al-ghadabiyya, the power of anger. The power of anger and passion. When this goes towards a negative, goes towards moving away from Allah, then we get people with short tempers. We get people who want to inspire and want to strike fear into the hearts of others. They're the ones that will try and make themselves bigger. They'll try and do something so that the people are afraid of them. A small thing will happen and they'll lose their temper, and so everyone will stay away from them, saying this man is one of short temper. This is that quwwat al-ghadabiyya gone wrong. And then the other side of it where it also goes wrong is when there is no ghazab, when there is no anger, then a person becomes weak. Something happens and there's sort of they don't feel that pain. They don't feel that anger. They don't feel the anger towards the killers of Abu Abdullah. They become in between. No, it's okay. We shouldn't do tabarra. We shouldn't do this. That anger goes. And I'm not saying that it's not like they're telling people don't do it open. No, I'm saying in the heart you don't have that hate towards the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, because that roots from that anger within you. And then when someone comes and infringes upon their right, they don't do anything. They sort of back away. Unfortunately, we don't have the concept of turn the other cheek. We do have a concept of forgiveness, but if someone imposes upon your dignity, upon your personal life, then it is your role as a Muslim to defend yourself. It's as simple as that. Abu Abdullah himself, when he's in the court of Walid in Medina, and Walid says that, Hussein, you have to give bay'ah to Abu Abdullah, to Yazid. Sorry. He says, you have to give bay'ah to Yazid. Abu Abdullah says, a person like me cannot give bay'ah to a person like him. And he begins to leave. And Marwan comes in and says that if you leave Hussein now, he will slip away from your hands. Execute him now. Or tell him that we will cut off his head if he does not. At this time, Abu Abdullah became angry. He said, "Ala wa inna da'i ibn da'i qad raqada minna bayna ithnatayn bayna sillati wa zilla wa hayhata minna zilla." That this illegitimate son of an illegitimate son, he presents me with two paths, the path of death and the path of humiliation. Well, he should know, hayhata minna zilla, that death is better than humiliation. This is that quwwat al-ghadabiyya, that anger for the sake of Allah. Look at that same story. Hazrat Abbas, Imam Hussein tells him to stay outside. Says, Abbas, stay outside until I raise my voice or until I say Allahu Akbar, then come in. At this point, after saying these lines, when they hear this voice coming, and Abu Abdullah says, Allahu Akbar, some books of history narrate that Abbas kicked open the door. He kicked open the door to the palace of Walid in order to show that it is the order of the Imam that has kept us back, not because we fear you. This is the anger when the Imam tells you to control the anger. This is quwwat al-ghadabiyya for the sake of Allah. That you are able to control it for the sake of Allah. When it's controlled, that's how it becomes. When it's controlled and used for the sake of Allah, then the Holy Prophet of Islam is compelled himself to say, Zarbatu aliyin fil yawm al-khandaq afdal min ibadat al-thaqalayn. That the ibadah, that the single strike of Ali ibn Abi Talib on the day of Khandaq is greater than all of the ibadat of the living men, women and jinn. This is that Anger for the sake of Allah. Then he gets off Amr ibn al-Aqad. Ali, why? He says, because he spat in my face and I became angry for myself. And if I'd killed him at that time, it would have been for myself. So I came off, I calmed down, I remembered that I'm killing him for the sake of Allah. And forever that strike was immortalized. This is that anger that we have within us, that passion that we have within us. And it reaches a peak in Muharram for the Shias. إِنَّ لِقَتْلِ الْحُسَيْنِ حَرَارَةً فِي قُلُوبِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ لَا تَبْرُدُ أَبَدًا. That through the killing of Hussein ibn Ali, there is a fire ignited in the hearts of the mu'mineen, a fire that will never subside. I said on my first slide that if a fire subsides after the 10th of Muharram, I don't feel that same passion, I don't feel that desire to change, then that means by its very definition that I'm not a mu'min. Because if that pain's always there, that fire's always there like it is now, then I'm a mu'min. If I'm not, if it subsides afterwards, then I'm not. So the first faculty of the soul is the one of Quwwat al-Ghalabiyah. The second one is Quwwat al-Shahwiyah, the one of desire. Now this can be used in haram ways. Takes one towards lust, promiscuity, and also desire in the social sense. That now I will become part of this dog-eat-dog society. That it doesn't matter, regardless of whose I have to step over, I will get to where I need to get. This is the society that we live in. That it is all based on desire. Do what you want, when you want, how you want. Regardless of who stands in the way. And then, when this desire is totally removed, then the person becomes lazy. They can't be bothered. Then they think, oh, you know, I'll think of something else to do. Maybe some other time, not now. I did my bit when I was younger, now maybe the person becomes lazy. That desire to gain closeness towards Allah is no longer there. That desire to better themselves as a human being is no longer there. We just become part of the system and sort of let it go. This is when Quwwat al-Shahwiyah goes bad. This is when, as Abu Abdullah says, Istahwala alaykum al-shaytan. When he says to the army of Yazid that shaitan has overcome you. Because their desires lied in ray. Their desires lied in governorships. Their desires lied in jewels and treasures and kingships. This was the waswas of shaitan. And sometimes I think, I don't need to come to the mosque. Or I don't need to come, there's people there, I'm going to go out and, you know, I need to do this. Well, then the prime example is Day of Ashura, even though I know it's not jais to work on the Day of Ashura. I'll go to work! Because if I miss a day, then that's the money, and it could also be my promotion prospects. All sorts of things go within my head, and that desire to progress towards Allah goes out the window, and then I just desire to progress towards my own self-betterment, and which, in obviously by proxy, is fulfillment of what shaitan wants me to do. But when that desire is harnessed properly, then it helps me attain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It makes me that much loving of the ibadat of Allah. I desire namaz. If I don't pray, then I feel like I've lost something. I've done such a big haram. But this is that, you know, it doesn't take you away from Allah. But when we control it, then we'll be able to go towards Allah. Make our way towards Allah. What does Imam Hussein alayhi salam say at the head of Habib? They says, Habib, you were the one that would finish a whole Quran in a night. This Imam reciting Madhiya at the head of Habib, saying that, may God have mercy on you, Habib. You are the one that would finish a Quran in a night. That desire towards the ibadat of Allah. And why should it not be within the hearts of the Shi'as when their Imam is Sayyid al-Sajidi? Time's running out, but one riwayat quickly. Imam al-Sadiq narrates that I once heard from my father, Imam al-Baqir, who saw his father, Imam al-Sajjad, come out from the mosque one day in the state that his eyes were dry from constant crying. His head, forehead and nose were bruised through constant sujood. His ankles were swollen through constant qiyam, through constant standing throughout the night. And his skin was pale from a lack of sleep. And he comes towards me. Imam al-Baqir says, I begin to cry, seeing the state of my father. My father says to me, come inside the house. I come inside and he sends me. He says, go and bring those scrolls that name out and that tell us about the ibadat of my grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imam al-Baqir brings those scrolls to his father, Imam Zainul Abidin, Imam Sayyid al-Sajidin. He begins to read those scrolls. The one that is the zenith of the ibad. He is the treasure of those that do ibadah. He is the one that is the greatest one that ever did sajda. So many sajdas he did. He became Sayyidus Sajidin. Sayyidus Sajidin is reading the scrolls and begins to say, who can do the ibadat of Ali but Ali? One side is Ali ibn Abi Talib, that Imam who we cry out to. His ibadat, even Sayyidus Sajidin is saying, who can do his ibadat? And me, this Shia, namaz is missed here, namaz is missed there. Forget about Salat al-Layl. That's too hard. Fasting, mustahab fasting needs mustahab fasts. It's enough punishment during Shahr Ramadan. This guy wants us to fast during the year as well. Is that how we think? Mustahab days to fast, Monday and Thursday of every week. Mustahab fasts. Monday and Thursday, every single week. Then 13th, 14th and 15th of every Islamic month. This is spiritual progression towards Allah. Qut al-Shahwiyah, that power of imagination when it's, that power of desire when it's controlled, it takes you towards Allah. And then the final one, Quwwat al-Wahmiyah, the power of imagination. If this is left alone, then this is the one that shaitan gains control over quickest. This is the one that makes a man a plotter. He begins to think that every cry is against him. He begins to think, how can I defame this person? How can I find this thing out about that person? And the mind becomes plotting. They overthink. Then it leads to lying. I'm going to lie in order to make myself sound more interesting. Or boost up the truth. That imagination. Imam Khomeini in 40 hadith says the imagination is like a bird. It flies from one tree to another tree to another tree if you allow it. But if you are able to capture it and control it, then you will send it wherever you go. Take the example. You're in the street, you see something, and then your mind wanders, and by the end you've reached a haram conclusion. Yeah? As brothers, you're walking through a street, you see a girl walking down the street. Your mind begins to wander. It starts from where and ends up where? This is because we've lost control of our imaginations. We're unable to control them. Quwwat al-Wahmiyah, when it goes loose, this is what happens. A person gets to that level. They're unable to now contemplate. But when you're able to control that bird and control that imagination, it leads to contemplation. It leads to thinking about the mercy of Allah. 1 hour's contemplation. So many hadiths we have. 1 hour's contemplation equivalent to 70 years ibadat. Why? Why is 1 hour's contemplation equivalent to 70 years ibadat? Why is it that the 7th Imam says that if a person does not contemplate at least once a day, he is not from us? That contemplation, because it helps you think, what have I done? And how am I going to better myself? Doing that muhasabah at the end of every night. What did I do throughout the day? What was haram? What was good? How am I going to improve it? And then make the intention to change tomorrow. That's how one progresses towards Allah. Actively doing it. Not just sitting back and hoping that one day when the Imam comes, as I was just saying previously somewhere, when the Imam comes, he's going to wave a magic Shia wand and everyone's going to become a perfect Shia. No. And I've been saying it every night. The army of Yazid stood across the Imam at that time. They still didn't recognize him. The people of Kufa had Ali at their doorsteps. Still didn't recognize him. They poisoned Imam al-Hassan. Take any Imam's life. They lived amongst the Imam. They saw him walking. They saw him talking every single day. But yet, they were unable to recognize the Imam. Why? This is what we need to think about. When it's controlled, it opens the doors to the rahmah of Allah. Contemplation, because I think about the mercy of Allah on me. And then the 4th faculty, the faculty that controls all and every one of these, is quwwatul aqliyah. That power of logic that controls each and every one of these faculties. And when it goes wrong, then you have people come forward with weird and wonderful ideas, which go against the teachings of our ulama, go against the teachings of our imams, but then they come forward and say, no, according to my logic, it works like this. When it goes wrong. Someone came to Amir al-Mu'mineen once and said, Amir al-Mu'mineen, you know, Muawiyah, he's very aqil. He's very, very knowledgeable. You know, he's a smart guy. He's very logical. I mean, look at the way he's defaming you. Look at the people that come to our imams. Just look at the way he's done this propaganda against you. You know, he's logical. Imam gives the definition of aql to this man. He says, Tilka hilatun. That isn't aql. That is Muawiyah lying. That is Muawiyah cheating. That's his quwwat al-wahmiyah gone wild. That's him plotting. Tilka hilatun. Al-aqlu ma abada bihi al-rahman. Aql is that thing that takes you to the ibadat of Allah. Has my aql taken me to the ibadat of Allah? Or can I think of 1,001 reasons not to come to the masjid? I can justify it to myself. I shouldn't go to the masjid today because children have got school in the morning, I've got work in the morning, and I'll probably finish at 11 and the matter, we'll give it a miss today. The aql overpowers and then begins to twist the ability. And then when all of these are in imbalance, this is how the diseases of the soul start manifesting themselves. This is when pride comes. This is when anger comes. This is when laziness comes. And this is, as is the topic today, hypocrisy comes. This is the reason why the people challenged the Imam. Hypocrisy. Please recite Salat. We all know the damage that a hypocrite, a munafiq can cause. But how do you identify a munafiq? So when I was writing this and I was studying for this, I thought, how do you identify a munafiq? I claim so many things, but do I act upon them? What is actually a munafiq? What are those things that make a person munafiq, so that I can look in the mirror and when no one else is around, I can tell myself, this is only one person I can't lie to. And that is myself. It goes without saying, Allah. But myself. I can present whatever face I want to society. But when I go home and I'm alone, it's just me and myself. And I can't lie to myself. There's a hadith from Rasulullah, Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that says, ثلاث من كن فيه فهو منافق. There are three things, if you find them in a person, he is a munafiq. إذا وعد أخلف. The first thing is that he is someone who breaks their promises. This is something we do easily. Break our promises. You know, how many times have I promised someone something and then not fulfilled it? Or said, I will come and help you. The prime example is, we do this all the time. Someone rings us from the masjid, look, we need your help to, I don't know, help clean the masjid. Say, yes, inshallah, I'll be there. Come the day and you're waiting and that brother who promised you is not there. Oh, I'm stuck in traffic. Oh, something happened and someone fell ill and all over the place. But we break promises left, right and centre. This is such an important part. Keeping one's promises. Someone came to the fourth Imam and they said that, what is the deen in a nutshell? Don't give me a long explanation. Just tell me, what is the deen in a nutshell? Now for me and you, someone said, what is Islam in a nutshell? That would be very difficult for us to say. Well, basically there's this aspect and you can't really get into it. But this is the Ahlul Bayt, the whole of Islam, the whole of eternity is in front of them. They see everything. Imam says 3 sentences. He says the deen, Islam, is encompassed within 3 sentences. Qawlul haqq, speaking the truth. Wal wafa'u bil ahd, and fulfilling and keeping your promises. Wal hukmu bil adl, and giving just decisions. Being just and passing just decisions. This is the whole faith. And you can contemplate over that yourselves as to how they are. But keeping that promise is so important. And we have various types of promises, various types of oaths. The highest one is towards Allah, that we will promise to worship Him. It goes without saying. And we can break the promises towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is a chance that we will be forgiven. And we can, if there's a genuine time that we're repenting, if we're genuinely turning back to Allah, there's a chance that we will be forgiven and Allah will forgive us. But there is one sin that a man does that can never be forgiven. And that is when he breaches haquq al-nas, when he breaches the rights of his fellow man. When he breaches the rights of his fellow man, if he offends his fellow brother, if he angers his fellow brother, if he oppresses his fellow brother, no one, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will not forgive you until that mu'min has forgiven you. We have oaths to Allah, but at the same time we have brotherhood between us. So easily we build up barriers between ourselves in order to separate. But remember, hurt the heart of a mu'min, and Allah will not forgive you until He forgives you. Until you tell Him what you've said, until you apologize to Him on His face. Until that time, Allah will not forgive you. There is obviously the line of justice here as well, that we have to take into account. If you said something that is just and it is for the truth, then regardless of that mu'min, the mu'min wouldn't have done anything wrong if he was a mu'min. But if he did accidentally and you've spoken out against him and it offended him, inshallah, he will see the truth. Keeping one's promise. And then there's another promise, and that is to the Imam at the time. You have an oath, you have a duty to the Imam of the time, that you prepare for his arrival, you prepare the grounds for him, you prepare yourself first of all, and then you prepare your children and your family and your community, so that he can come and take charge and you are ready to progress towards him. We see that in Karbala. Fulfillment of those oaths. When Habib receives his letter in Kufa, he takes the letter and he's heading towards Karbala, and he sees Muslim ibn Awsaja in the marketplace. Muslim ibn Awsaja was very old. Very old. He sees Muslim ibn Awsaja. He says, Muslim, what are you doing? He says, oh, I'm here to buy some dye for my beard. For my hair is gone white, I'm going to dye it. So I'm here to buy dye. Habib says, come with me and dye your beard with something that will last until the day of Qiyamah. Hussein is in Karbala and he's called us. Come with me, let's go and help him. Fulfillment of the oath to the Imam. Muslim dies before Habib in Karbala. When he falls, Abu Abdullah and Habib go to the body of Muslim. They say, Muslim, do you have any last requests? Do you want us to do something? Do you want us to fulfill a will for you? Do you want us to give something to your family? Do you want us to tell something to your children? Do you want us to ask the people to do something? What is the will of Muslim ibn Awsaja? He looks towards Habib ibn Mazahir and he says, protect this man, pointing to Abu Abdullah, with all your strength until the day you are alive. This is oath to the Imam. This is what it means to fulfill your oath to the Imam. The Imam is that thing that has been given to us. We have to prepare for the Imam. We have to prepare for his arrival. Are we doing it? Are we fulfilling our oath to him? That's between you and yourself. Between I and myself. Only you can answer that question. No one else can. Have I fulfilled my oath towards my Imam? The first thing that the Holy Prophet said is the sign of a munafiq is that he breaks his oath, his promises. The second sign of a munafiq is that he betrays the trust. Someone tells you something, you go and pass it on to someone else. Someone gives you something, you begin tampering with it, you're betraying that trust that someone gave you. You misuse that trust they gave you. Someone tells you something in confidence and you go on and tell someone else. It's misusing the trust. Abusing the trust. That is the sign of a munafiq. But there is one amana which I misuse on a daily basis. There is one trust that was given to me that I misuse on a daily basis. And that is the trust of Amir al-Mu'mineen. In Ja'at Amin Allah we say, Assalamu alayka ya Amin Allah fi khalqih. O salams upon you, O the amana, O the trust of Allah, fi ardih, not fi khalqih. Fi ardih, the amana of Allah upon the earth. Salams be upon you. He is the amana of Allah. And now he says that help me. I don't live in his time anymore. So how do I help Amir al-Mu'mineen? He himself, I said it 2 days ago, help me through your actions and through your wara. Through your actions And through that higher level, that is higher than taqwa, wara, that's how you can help me. That's how you can fulfill that trust. Am I keeping his trust? The third sign of a munafiq is that his words and his actions don't match. I say one thing, but I do another. I say Hussein with my tongue, but yet when I go out, I act like Yazid. I say Hussein, and I cry for the fact that the Ahl al-Bayt were taken in front of a drunkard, but yet I serve alcohol. I sell alcohol. I say Hussein, but act like Yazid. Sign of a munafiq. I say Zainab as a sister, but I don't wear hijab. But yet Zainab cries, wa hijaba, wa hijaba. 3 signs of munafiq. Am I fulfilling my amana to the Imam? Are my words and my actions matching? Is it both Hussein in my tongue, in my actions, in my heart? Or is it just Hussein on my tongue? Is the deen just on my tongue? What does Abu Abdullah say? An-nas abid ad-dunya wad-deen la'ikun ala alsinatikum. That mankind is a slave of the dunya and the deen is but on their tongues. There are many people that fulfilled their oath to their Imam, and Karbala is full of them. And tonight we remember that 13-year-old that fulfilled his oath towards his uncle, Qasim ibn al-Hasan. He was only 3 when Imam al-Hasan passed away. Qasim was brought up by Abu Abdullah. He knew Abu Abdullah as his uncle, but he also knew Abu Abdullah as his father. Abu Abdullah considered him as his son. The relationship between these two was very close. So then when on the 9th of Muharram, Qasim comes to Abu Abdullah and says, "Oh Abu Abdullah, is my name amongst the Shahada? Is my name amongst those that will be killed tomorrow?" The books of Majalis say that the heart of Hussein burnt. At that point, the heart of Hussein broke. This is the son of his brother, the amana entrusted to him by his brother. And he is asking whether or not. Abu Abdullah says, "Bunayya, kayfa indak al-maut?" My son, how do you perceive death? He turns around and says, "Ya amma ahla min al-asal." That's, "Oh my uncle, I perceive it sweeter than honey." Abu Abdullah, hearing the reply of Qasim, says, "Then my son, yes, your name is in the Shuhada that will die tomorrow, but also know that you are not the youngest that will be killed, but my son Aliun Asghar too will be killed on the plains of Karbala." When the day of Ashura dawns, Qasim comes. After all of the companions have been killed, Qasim comes. According to some books of history, Aliun Akbar has already been killed, and Qasim comes to Abu Abdullah to ask for permission to fight. Abu Abdullah doesn't know how to give permission to the amana of his brother. He takes Qasim, both uncle and son, uncle and nephew hug each other and begin to cry until they say they cry so much hatta khushiya alaykuma, that both of them fall asleep, both of them fall unconscious. When Qasim comes around, the books of Makhtar say that now Qasim is going around Abu Abdullah. First he kisses the hands of Imam al-Hussein, then he kisses the feet of Imam al-Hussein, saying, "Oh uncle, give me permission. Aliun Akbar has gone out to fight. Oh Allah, oh Abu Abdullah, give me permission to go out." Eventually the Imam al-Hussein gives permission to Qasim to go. Hamid ibn Muslim narrates that we saw coming from the tent of Aba Abdullah a child whose face was like a piece of the moon. He was wearing a simple shirt and a sword he carried within his hands. He came out into the battlefield and we saw that he was crying, and we thought that he was crying out of fear. But no, when he began to read poetry, we realized that he was crying over the ghurbat of Hussein. He was crying over the loneliness of his uncle Hussein. He comes out to fight. This is a son of Banu Hashim. It is a youth of Banu Hashim. He comes out in order to fight. Even at the age of 13, he kills 35 of the army of Yazid. At one point, Umar ibn Sa'ad says that surround him. I will kill this son of Hassan. They surround him from all angles and begin to attack him. While the back of Qasim is turned, Umar ibn Sa'ad comes and strikes Qasim upon the head. He falls from the horse face first onto the plains of Karbala. As he lies on the plains of Karbala, he cries out, Ya Amma, oh my uncle Hussein, come to my aid. Abu Abdullah runs out from the tent. They say it was like a lion when he comes to attack. The army of Yazid retreated. Hamid ibn Muslim narrates that when the dust settled, we found that Hussein was standing at the head of Qasim, crying, saying, Oh Qasim, how hard is it for your uncle to see that you called out to him and he was unable to come to you. Oh Qasim, this death is very hard for your uncle to bear. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the sins of our parents. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, oh Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in education, make them successful. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Keep our ulama and our maraji at the head of our institutions, keep them safe and give them long lives. Hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time. Allow us to be amongst his true muntazireen, his true awaiters. For the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that the brothers and sisters have brought to the gathering, please recite 3 loud salat.